After Witch Queen being the best expansion since Forsaken, Bungo had some pretty big expectations to meet with Lightfall. I feel it's safe to say the community is feeling a bit underwhelmed with Lightfall so far. I know there's a lot of people who really like it, and that's fine. I envy you. But the general consensus for this DLC is that it ain't too swell. Let's be honest, this DLC is filler. And seeing as how most of the Destiny 2 DLCs are filler, there's only so much that the community can take. And with Witch Queen being such a great DLC, we thought the tides were turning. This is also supposed to be the penultimate chapter of a 10-year saga. That's really bad that this is filler. If you think this isn't filler, boy, do I got some news for you, chum. While I was writing this, I was watching a video by November Hotel that explains exactly why Lightfall is filler. I'll put a link to his video in the description, but to sum up, Lightfall was supposed to be the finale, but it was split up into two different DLCs, that being Lightfall and the Final Shape. Strand was also supposed to be in the Witch Queen, but was cut out to put into Lightfall. So yes, Lightfall is indeed a filler expansion. That's just not something you can argue against. Sure, you can like it. I wish I did, but it's still filler. Part of what makes this filler is that the campaign has a bizarre obsession with Strand. Sure, it's the new subclass, but you gotta tell a story that pushes us towards the Final Shape. Seeing as how the Witness is barely in this, and not at all the center of attention, which you would think he would be if we're telling the penultimate story to the Light and Darkness saga. I mean, just look at Season of the Lost. That was the penultimate story to the Witch Queen, and the whole season was about Savathun. But I guess that's what happens when you get distracted by a new subclass. But this new subclass obsession isn't exclusive to Lightfall, because Beyond Light had this same kind of problem with stasis. You thought maybe they would have learned from that. I guess not, because arguably it's worse in this. All the stuff that we care about, with the exception of the Veil, is all happening at home on Earth. The Witness is there, and he's standing right in front of the Traveler. This is a moment we've been building to for at least since 2017, with the introduction of the Pyramid ships. Bro also just decides to stand in the same spot for the whole DLC. The Witness goes up to the Traveler, then we go to Neptune, and then we come back, and he's doing the same thing? Haven't we been gone for at least a few days? Everyone's just in the same spot we left them? I guess it works how I thought TV worked when I was a kid. Like if you weren't watching, then it would just pause itself. MS were really out here doing the mannequin challenge while we were away. And this isn't even the only goofy odd thing to happen in this campaign. Because while I'm on Neptune, I can't get this thought out of my head. What is this city for? What is Neomuna for? I don't know. Who is it for? Everyone is in VR chat. There's no one walking around. There's nobody living in this city except for the Cloud Striders, which apparently at max there's only 2 of them at a time. So who is this city for? I guess they built it for while they were still alive, but it's still furnished. Like there's food and drinks out for people. There's still bars on buildings and stuff. There's no wear or tear on the building. From at least what we can tell from the Hall of Heroes, this has been going on for maybe 100 years or more. So this city is just perfectly encapsulated. I guess the Cloud Striders, they just take care of it. 2 people who live 10 years each just maintain the city, I guess. Like, bro, everyone is dead and their consciousness is in the metaverse. Who is this city for? I don't know. But speaking of the Cloud Striders, we got some bad news. Nimbus. My bro posted cringe on main. An unforgivable offense. Every time Nimbus's mouth opens up, I die of cringe. I skipped most of Nimbus's dialogue because my eardrums bled every time bro spoke. This is a very serious conflict, not just for us, but now for the Cloud Striders, and Nimbus just takes none of it seriously, even after Rohan dies, which, let's be honest, was very predictable and had no impact because he was in like 2 missions, and then he said, "I'm dead." But you know what death did make me sad? callous. Why'd they gotta do my boy like that? When he called me his little guardian, I got all warm and fuzzy. Then I gotta turn my man into a tree. It's just not fair. Rip my man callous, gone too soon. You know what, maybe I missed it, but another goof in the campaign is the witness went from wanting to destroy the veil to all of a sudden he wants to link with it and use it? Where did that happen? I feel like the writers just forgot they said that. I know they split the beginning cutscene into two to add some little filler bits in there, but come on guys, do you not have a script supervisor? After the campaign, I'm feeling pretty bored because I have a bunch of busy patrol work to do to get the glaive, and I'm kinda discouraged from getting the Neptune weapons after finding out they're just the moon weapons retextured. Before you start typing in the comments, yeah, I know Bungo reuses models all the time for weapons, but I paid $50 for this DLC. The least you could do is give me a new model for a weapon, because the seasonal weapons are all just retextured versions of Season of the Lost weapons. Obviously I would prefer new models for seasonal weapons, but it's not as big a deal as paying $50 for a DLC to have low effort weapons. And I get that people may not mind it, but I don't find it acceptable for a $50 paid expansion to have reused weapons from an earlier DLC. I mean, let's look at the Witch Queen. All those weapons consisted of new models and even brought a new type of weapon for the first time since Forsaken. Then on top of that, they brought in weapon crafting, which is part of what makes me say, I don't see how this DLC is worth 50 buckaroonies. That's a decent amount of Skrilla. That's obviously not even counting the seasons, which you must pay $10 for every single time. As an expansion, this just ain't worth 50 clams. At least the untime-gated Strand, which should have never been time-gated to begin with. Like, whose goofy-ass decision was that? I just paid $80 for the deluxe edition, and I can't access all of the subclass? That's just some straight phooey. That was definitely one of those classic Bungie decisions where they purposely made a bad decision so they could quote-unquote fix it and say they're listening to feedback. And of course, just like all other DLCs, we have no strikes. I mean, there is one new strike, but there's only so many times you can play the same strikes over and over again. And apparently Bung does not like the idea of diversifying the strike playlist, nor do they want to add a reason to grind strikes by adding back strike-specific loot. At least that's the impression they give off. They also decided to make some changes to the strike playlist, which no one asked for. It's now harder, as if that's again something anybody asked for. It now makes your light level relatively useless in strikes because it caps you. Along with this, they also made it so getting your weekly pinnacles from the strike playlist takes almost twice as long, whereas before it used to take 3 strikes and now takes 5. And if you're a new light, there are some days you just can't earn any progress towards the weekly pinnacle, because now the weekly burns were made into daily surges, or some days are exclusive to darkness subclasses, meaning strand or stasis surges. So if you don't have Beyond Light or Lightfall, you donezo. No earning pinnacles for you that day, which is a load of malarkey. In the Witch Queen year, if there was a stasis burn, they would pair it with a solar burn, so people who didn't have stasis could at least earn their weekly pinnacles. Since we're on the topic of malarkey, I might as well bring up Guardian ranks. My friend has 36 hours in Destiny 2. I have over 2,000, and we're the same rank. What the flip is this? Guardian ranks have 2 purposes. One, to show how long you've been playing the game. It obviously doesn't do that. And the second is to supposedly onboard new players. Well, I can tell you that doesn't help because my friend still does not know how to play the game very well. And if you were a new light before this went in, you're at rank 6 now, so it doesn't help you. It just brings us back to the same useless number that used to be on our name, like in Destiny 1 and at the beginning of Destiny 2. I don't really see what was wrong with showing us your seasonal rank. At least it showed you some kind of information about the player and how long they've played over the course of the season. Guardian ranks just show you nothing. And I'm not sure if this is true, but it sounds like Guardian ranks might reset every season as well. If that's true, again, what is the point of this? if we're putting numbers next to people's names, it should at least show how long you've played the game or how much effort you've put in. I should not be the same rank as someone who has 1900 less hours than me. It's insulting. And all this hoopla started with Bife being upset about the Lightfall campaign being a filler nonsensical story and that he couldn't tell you what the hell the Veil was. At first, I found him to be overreacting a bit, but he's right. Most of this expansion is mid as fuck. I'm really getting tired of the reused content that's either taken away from us and resold to us, or just resold to us that's still in the game. For the end of Destiny, we need better from Bungie, especially since they now have the resources of Sony behind them. I can't speak for all the Destiny community, but at least for myself, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.